In this video there will be the Ringed City locations, weapons and small story spoilers. You have been warned. This is the hardest video I've ever had to make. The Ringed City is the supposed final piece of content in my favourite franchise of all time. There's a lot riding on this being good, being better, being the ultimate piece of content for Dark Souls fans. After the somewhat disappointing Ashes of Ariandel, the Ringed City had a lot of explaining to do, had a lot of making up to do. With that said, Dark Souls 3, The Ringed City, in my eyes, is the best piece of Dark Souls content since Artorias of the Abyss. In fact, I feel it's on par with Artorias of the Abyss. In fact, I feel it's on par with the old Hunters. First things first, I want to get out of the way the negative aspects of the Ringed City. The fact there's no new rings is a little disappointing. Instead, we have +3 versions of existing rings, so unfortunately, it didn't change up our ring situation at all, but instead bolster our existing rings. Secondly, how we access the DLC is a little lackluster. Instead of a cutscene or, well, anything, we are given a bonfire next to the kiln of the first Flames bonfire, and then another bonfire inside Freya's boss room. Although lazy in design, the fact we have 2 options to enter the Ringed City is a smart move on From Software's part. You do not need to finish the base game to start the Ringed City. You do, however, need to make a decision whether you're going to finish Ashes of Ariandel or the base game, which is a welcomed addition. One last thing, From Software have failed to add incentive to participate in invasions or the arena past the Covenant rewards. People are already asking the question, what's the point in the arena? And besides from fun being a factor here, again we don't have enough incentive to keep playing the arena, and it'll most likely have died out heavily come the next few weeks. As I'm looking through my notes, that's all I can think of when it comes to the negative side of the DLC. So now I want to talk to you about my playtime and the difficulty of the Ringed City. I started playing on New Game Plus Plus on a soul level 70 character. Now you might argue this was way under level, and I'd agree with you, but I wanted the DLC to kick my ass, and it really did. I didn't want to go in over leveled, and well, I wasn't. The Ringed City is the hardest piece of content I've played since the old Hunters, but I'll put emphasis on this. Difficulty is highly subjective and differs from person to person, but for me personally, it really knocked me down a peg. My entire playtime clocked in at just under 18 hours, and I managed to do nearly everything, all the side quests, all the quest lines, the optional boss, which we'll get onto a little later. Now, I'm not sure if I found all the items in the areas, in fact I'm pretty certain I didn't, but I want to talk about the Ringed City's level design. Remember back in Dark Souls 1, you had those oh damn I'm here moments, or how the hell do I get there scenarios? Well, they're back and in force. The Ringed City felt as though you were navigating this world with no real path to follow, forks in the road at every point, giving the player back their sense of wonder, sense of freedom. Areas will be in sight, but out of reach. Areas unlock after you've done certain story elements, which I won't go into here. Overall, the level design in the Ringed City does harken back to Artorias of the Abyss, and I'd say even expands on it. This is From Software level design at its best. Elevators taking you up to where you've already been, discovering how certain areas are connected is just a wondrous feeling, and it plays a major role in my admiration for this piece of content. Next, I want to talk about the weapons. The weapons in the DLC have this kind of Bloodborne vibe. Every weapon was unique and offered an array of different playstyles. The Ringed City seems to have taken heavy inspiration from that, and I can't think of a single weapon in the DLC that felt lackluster. They all offer their own unique trait. I really don't want to go into the specifics of each weapon. I don't want to tell you what each weapon does, You can find that out on your own, and perhaps in the video I'll even showcase some that I was using during my playthrough. But From Software have done a really good job with the movesets of these weapons, and it still blows my mind how even 7 years later, they can still add new elements to existing weapons. Next we have the bosses. I won't show any footage of the bosses, and I won't even tell you their name, but I can confirm there are 4 bosses, 3 main bosses and 1 optional boss. I could see people having a problem with one boss in particular, and that is the boss that's associated to the new Covenant. This is a boss invasion Covenant, and it works in a similar fashion to the Mirror Knight from Dark Souls 2. On my playthrough there wasn't any invaders because, well, no one was playing it when I was, but I could see this boss being really awesome when everybody gets in and players start invading the boss arena, but without the PvP aspect of this boss fight it was a tad lacking. But the other fights, I need to commend From Software again, and I'll reiterate, I won't go into specifics, but 2 of the 4 fights are the most beautiful and engaging fights I feel From Software have ever created. Are they my new favourite? Maybe for Dark Souls 3, but I do love the Artorias fight in Dark Souls 1, so maybe I do have a new contender for a favourite boss fight, and that's all I'll say on that. With this being the last piece of Dark Souls content, I was worried. I was worried it would leave a sour taste in my mouth. I was worried it'd leave me disappointed. But I left upset, on the verge of tears. The Ringed City shows just how Dark Souls is done, and it's over. This piece of content reminded me why I love this franchise in the first place. The NPCs making me feel actual emotions for them. The locations being so beautiful yet so decrepit. The atmosphere that these games can portray, you can't find that anywhere else. To the entire team at From Software, I want to personally thank you for sharing your creativity, sharing your collective mind with us. We praise Miyazaki all the time, but let's not forget there's an entire workforce behind him, which we all have to thank. Many of you know how much Dark Souls means to me, and to see it leave on such a high note, I couldn't be happier. Dark Souls, you were so good to me. Even though you beat me when I was down, you always let me get back up and try again. You never counted me out, and I appreciate that. Take care everyone, be good to one another, and I'll see you next time.